I have 2 questions for Detroit Lions fans. So that's what you fired Jim Caldwell for. This, what you got in 2018. This is what you just had to hire Matt Patricia for, right? What the hell you got in 2018? This is a perfect lesson to be learned by Lions fans specifically and sports fans in general. And you could say in life. Sometimes be careful what you wish for. Change for the sake of change isn't automatically a good thing. And that grass is not always greener on the other side, as it oftentimes is fertilized by the same shit. Just couldn't wait to run Jim Caldwell out the door and replace him with alleged rapey Matt TP. And what did it get you? Picking in the top 10. Well done. I salute you. I don't think Lions fans had any delusions about what was going to go on here in 2018 after the first 2 games. This team stunk. Absolutely stunk. That opening week Monday night loss to the Jets was embarrassing, and it was just, you had the feeling, even when they beat the Patriots, you're like, yeah, the Lions aren't for real. They never had a chance. Even when they started off 3-3, you're still like, they never had a chance. I don't believe in this team. There's no way they're going to do anything worthwhile. And they validated that belief. They lost twice, both to Minnesota and Chicago in the division. And then you look at some of the bad losses they had this year to New York, meaning the Jets, San Francisco, Buffalo. Now you beat some of those bad teams on your schedule and maybe beat Minnesota or Chicago once. We're talking about an entirely different Detroit Lions team. But that's not what happened. And to me, I still don't understand this increasing desire or this persistent desire for certain teams to want to go and pluck fruit off of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Because that tree is rotted, and typically the fruit that is harvested, picked off of that rotted tree, is also rotted its damn self. Full of worms, it stinks quickly, and you can't wait to throw it in the garbage. And Matt Patricia and his coaching job and this team's performance in his first year was garbage. Don't spin it positively. It was what it was. Now you're going to say defensively, they were top 10 against the run, top 10 against the pass, top 10 total yards a game. That's true. That's true. You had some highlights on offense. Kenny Golladay went over 1,000 yards receiving. Kerryon Johnson, when he was healthy and given opportunities, averaged almost 5.5 yards a carry. So looking long-term, there are things and signs that say this is a positive. But still, offensively, it was Stat Patford and a mediocre to bad crew. Struggled to throw the ball consistently, effectively. Struggled to run the ball consistently, effectively. Struggled consistently, offensively, consistently. They stunk. They stunk. And I just don't really see where that formula is for this team to get a whole lot better. It could happen, but I just don't see it. This was not a good initial rodeo for Matt Patricia. Again, the whole season, as this is going down for the Detroit Lions, I'm thinking to myself, well, shit, Jim Caldwell could have at least done that. And based off the history, you know what? I'm absolutely right. Again, change for the sake of change does not always produce positive results. Just because you can bring somebody in new, that doesn't mean that they're better. It doesn't mean that the guy that you have is great, and that automatically does not mean you absolutely must keep him no matter what. But if you are going to fire a guy who you've had a little bit of success with, you best damn make sure that his replacement is better. Firing him for the sake of firing him is fucking stupid, period. And looking at the Lions, when you look at 2018, looking at their draft class, you got Frank Ragnow, Kerryon Johnson, Tracy Walker, Deshaun Hand, Tyrell Crosby. I mean, there's some hope there that they'll get some contributions out of those guys going forward. Obviously, Kerryon Johnson showed himself well when he was in there, averaging 5.4 yards a carry. You know, for a team that needed some balance and consistency in the running game, you know, when Kerryon was in there, he gave you some of that. But still, it's a question of him being able to stay healthy for that 16-game schedule. And then it's a question of the Lions consistently sticking to that running game. If they could figure out to stop putting the ball in Stat Patford's hands so often, Matthew Stafford, and balance this thing out a little bit better, a little more consistently, that defense that can be pretty good at times would be a whole lot better. This team would be a whole lot better. Matthew Stafford as a byproduct would be a whole lot better. And until they figure that out, until they change how they do things, the results are going to stay the same. Now, looking at this team, they've got about $30 million in salary cap space heading into this offseason. There are guys you could potentially part with, guys like TJ Lang, Nevin Lawson, maybe Christian Jones, Theo Riddick. Some of those guys may be gone. They might figure that they like all of those guys and want to keep them. That also could be true. When you look at the Lions, they feel like they're in a really bad way in need of a premier player. Like they need a star. They need a difference maker. They need an impact guy. Now, could that come from the group of defensive ends, edge rushers that are potentially going to hit the market this year? Perhaps. That would be a logical place to put them because you never know what you're getting one year to the next with Ezekiel Ansah. And they don't have a whole lot else around him or behind him. But doesn't it feel that way with the Lions? Like, when you really look at their team, you can say Darius Slay is probably their best player. Okay, but does he really feel like a superstar? Does he really feel like a true difference maker? And honestly, you want to have a few of those guys on your team, and I don't know if the Detroit Lions has a damn single one of them. They need one. They need one on the defensive side of the ball. Because I can tell you right now, their quarterback most certainly isn't one on the offensive side of the ball. So, to me, I would think the Lions could be looking at taking a lot of that cap space that they do have and trying to find one real difference maker on one side of the ball or the other. And they need to really badly. In terms of their team needs, looking ahead to free agency in the draft, I talked again about the need for an explosive edge rusher. Look at wide receiver. You traded away Golden Tate. You've got Kenny Golladay, but you could use another playmaker out there, that's for sure. That is absolutely for sure. I look at that defense. They could probably use more speed on the second level of that defense at the linebacker position, specifically outside. They could use maybe a different change of pace back compared to Theo Riddick, some type of third down type of guy to complement Kerryon Johnson, to try and give themselves their Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen combination type of backfield there in Detroit. They need that. They must change the way they operate. They must change the way they do business. But then we get to a certain point in time where you have to really start asking yourself the question, when is it time to start thinking about the future at the quarterback position and retooling and changing the way you think about Matthew Stafford? What's crazy about it now is you realize Matthew Stafford has been in the league for 10 seasons. 2019 is going to be year number 11. And sure, you could say Matthew Stafford, in relation to the Detroit Lions, most certainly has been a franchise quarterback for them. He's not the best, he's not elite, but he's been a borderline franchise guy for them. And perhaps that is true. But you were also 10 years into Matthew Stafford, and you have 0 playoff wins to show for it. You are paying him top 5 quarterback money in the National Football League. You don't want to do that for a guy that is going to be on losing teams like this. For guys that you feel like have pretty much already peaked. Like, how much better is Matthew Stafford really going to get? What's he going to do that's really going to be so much different? I feel like it's a valid question. So, does there come a point in time for the Lions? And I know it's not going to come in round 1 this year, that's for sure. But is there a time where they have to start exploring spending a somewhat premium pick on a young quarterback to perhaps push Matthew Stafford, challenge Matthew Stafford, and maybe long-term replace Matthew Stafford? Just thinking bigger picture, thinking long-term, maybe, just maybe, that's got to be a little more of a consideration than it has been previously. Because when you look at the Lions now, they got a quarterback that they pay a shit ton of money to, and they're just mediocre. Feels like perfectly mirroring their quarterback, Matthew Stafford.